See, I think we have to go back to the question, how much should students bear the burden for the deficit? Because obviously the whole context of this is that we're in a deficit and therefore we have to have these cuts. And actually, the university tuition fees, if they were to be abolished, would cost us £2 billion. And if we were, as a country, to raise just our corporate tax to the average of the EU, would raise £46 billion. So there is money there should we decide to take different political choices. I'm one of the lucky generation. I'm a psychotherapist today because I had a free university education and actually had a grant at that time, and I would imagine that most of the people on this panel also have the benefit of that, and we then contribute. So we shouldn't see this as a loss, but as an investment. People like myself from a poorer background certainly would not have had the benefits of a university education. My husband came from a similar background, a poorer working class background, and now he's a doctor. So it's certainly education is certainly a key to bring about greater social equality and contribution, allowing the potential of all people to be fulfilled. And I take a difference from you, Katie, apart on a lot of things, and also the fact that you're assuming that if people are allowed access, somehow academic excellence goes down. I don't know whether you know this, but in order to get onto a university course, you do have to pass exams, and there are entrance criteria for it.
Jeremy Hunt, there's a straight political question on this, which is that Simon Hughes, who's the new deputy leader of the Liberal Democrats, said, "We're opposed to tuition fees. You oughtn't to increase tuition fees. We ought to get rid of those we have. And my job is to make sure that our message and voice is clearly heard distinctly from the fact that we're also in coalition." You're going to have a terrible struggle with this one.
Well,
will the coalition survive it?
Yes, the coalition will survive it.
How will it do that?
Well, it's absolutely true, David, that Conservatives and Liberal Democrats had different policies on this issue at the last election. But, I think that should give people some comfort that we will be taking into consideration the concerns of people who are worried about debt, but also the concerns of people who are worried about the burden on taxpayers. And also, just to pick up on, I think, a very good point that a lady in red and blue down here made earlier. She talked about apprenticeships. One of the things that David Willetts actually said in his speech today, which was a very thoughtful speech, was that we need to look much more closely at the link between apprenticeships and degrees, and whether it could be possible for people to start going for an apprenticeship and actually move on to getting a degree. And we need to think about that kind of flexibility, because the practical skills that you get in an apprenticeship are very, very important, and we need to do much, much more to value them as part of the system.
Well,
yes, who are you going to ask?
Selma.
Yes, of course. I want to ask Ben Bradshaw what you think about the politics of this. I'll come to you then. What do you think about the politics of this?
Well,
do you think the coalition's going to survive it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I hope the coalition doesn't fall at the first hurdle, but some of the noises I heard today from the Liberal Democrats seem to indicate that simply being allowed to abstain, as I think the coalition agreement talks about, won't be enough for them. They want the ability to oppose this, but I suspect it won't be fatal for the coalition. I hope Jeremy's right. I hope the Liberal Democrats can help moderate the Conservatives' policy on this.
Toby Young, you wanted to make a point?
I just wanted to make the point that your husband's a doctor, you're a dazzlingly successful media star, you're on Question Time virtually every week. You're in a position now...
So jealous, Toby.
I am jealous. But you're in a position now to pay back any loans you would have had to have taken out if education wasn't free back in the day. Why should the taxpayer bear the burden of helping you and your husband on the road to success?
My point is, had I not had that opportunity, I'm one of 7, I can tell you for a fact that my go to university would not have been a priority and we would have been put off. Already we had so many debts having to pay for other things within the family, so I wouldn't have had that first step on the ladder in the first place, and that's my point. People like us may be all right now, that's why should we be kicking the ladder for other people? This is about making sure that everybody has that fair opportunity, not just people who happen to have come from a wealthier background.
Okay. In the second row there. Yes, you. Yeah. No, the woman next to you. Yeah.
What Toby said about poorer people being given the opportunity to go to uni, and then people from wealthier backgrounds, what happens to the people in the middle who don't get a grant but can't afford to pay tuition fees outright?
That's right.
Okay. I think Very briefly,
what they had at this college I went to was a sliding scale. So those with some needs were given some subsidy, those with greater needs were given more subsidy, and in that way they worked it out.
OK, we've got a couple of moments left before we come to the end of the programme, so let's just take this last question from Andrew McCrory, please. Andrew McCrory.
Should the English flag fly over 10 Downing Street during the Football World Cup?
Should the English flag fly over Downing Street during the Football World Cup? Ben Bradshaw.
Yes, of course it should. It did last time, as I understand it. It should fly wherever people can find room for it. I think this is a chance for celebration. And I suspect most people in this country will be more interested in watching the football than taking part in the big conversation about the cuts.
Yes. Would you like to see fly over Buckingham Palace as well?
Well, that's of course a question for her match.
All right.
I wouldn't have thought she would have a problem with that.
Katie Hopkins.
Absolutely, and actually Ben does have his lucky England boxer shorts on tonight, just so you know. Let you in on that one. No, absolutely.
How do you know that?
Well, I can't go into that.
No,
but,
please.
No, you did divulge it earlier. But anyway, I think the England flag should fly...
What are lucky English boxer shorts, Ben?
Ben. Ben.
I don't know.
You were just making it up.
She was making it up.
She was making it up, or you were making it up?
She was making it up.
Toby Young.
I think that if Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland were still in the competition, then having the Prime Minister fly the Cross of St George over Downing Street might be slightly controversial. But given that they're not, and of course, as we know, they've all thrown their weight behind us and are now supporting us wholeheartedly, I think it's absolutely fine.
Salma Yaqoob.
Of course, that should be happening outside Downing Street and our British Parliament. The whole country is behind England in this. But my question would be, well, what about those Scottish MPs then? Surely this may now raise a constitutional issue, which David Cameron has to address.
But if number 10 he's the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, not the Prime Minister of England.
Well, I think he can get away with it this time, given the fact that the others didn't qualify.
Do you think he can get away with it, the woman there in the third row?
Yes, I think he can. I think we really need to reclaim the flag, because at the moment it seems to be somehow associated with extreme right-wing politics and football hooliganism, and so we need to be really proud of our flag and patriotism.
Jeremy, you're in charge of this kind of thing, because you're Culture Secretary and all that. If we're knocked out, is the flag lowered, or does it go to half-mast until the end of the competition? What's your advice to the Prime Minister going to be? Because it is your area, culture, media and sport.
Absolutely. Well, all I can say is that we haven't considered that possibility.
David, I think... it's just as well David Miliband isn't captain of the English football squad, because midway through he'd do an about-turn and tap in an own goal just to give his opponents a fighting chance.
Man up there on the right. You, sir. On the right there, yes? Quickly.
Yeah. Actually, as United Kingdom, England is representing the United Kingdom. As far as England representing the United Kingdom, we can host a flag in 10 Downing Street. But I don't think we will be kicked out of the tournament. As far as you expect, we will beat. Sometimes we will pick the cup.
You think we'll win?
Yeah, we win.
Right. No, I'm just asking the question. That's all. As always, I'm not giving the answers. And we've come to the end. Unless you'd just like briefly to say something very fast, madam, in the centre there.
If everybody else had qualified, we could have flown the Union flag.
Right. Or yes, good. OK. That's it for Question Time this week. Now, we're going to be in Witney, the Prime Minister's constituency, next week, and we'll have on the panel the Liberal Democrat, Chris Huhne for the coalition government, Peter Hain for Labour. Week after that, we're going to be in Canary Wharf, and we'll have Ed Balls, one of the contenders for the Labour Party leadership, on the panel there. So if you'd like to come either to Witney next week or Canary Wharf in London the week after, the number to call is the usual number, 0871 626 9988, or go to our website. The address is on the screen there, and apply there. Thank you all very much, panellists. Thank you very much for coming here to the University of Plymouth, not yet blown up by Katie Hopkins. From all of us here until next Thursday, good night.